KBHB come to be involved with the project?
Well, Les had been friends for quite some time with Harry Blair, Ed Gardner, and many of those people that were interested in this type of a project. And being the kind of guy he was, that his interest kept growing as it kept developing, and they decided that they needed something to spur the event so that they could get the word out, get people interested and participating. So basically that was, I think, the way it came about.
Do you remember the radiothon that you held?
I do. And in fact, we loaded up the whole family, went over to the Holiday Inn near here, stayed there the entire time, and I'm not sure if 3 or 4 days, how many days it was. But yes, we stayed there and worked with it. And the fact that we had both the radio stations and KBHB and KRCS, I think it was almost around the clock production, I guess, that went on. I'd like to talk about some of the people that helped from the station too. I first think of a couple of the announcers who were really big and busy with this, and Bob Davis was one. Another was, and I'll tell you about him a little later, Ross Oz Hesby from over at Belfouche. And then back at the station we had like Hardy Kuntz and Pam Thomas, Dana Caldwell still around, you know, and working Bob Luby. So I just mentioned some of those people. Also, they kind of then, a couple of them, Bob Davis and Hesby, kind of gave up on the radio business, you know, with all the little things that Les Kleven kept coming up with, like fundraisers, you know, marathons. So they all are successful businessmen in the area now. With Ross, with his Radio Shack business over in Belfouche. Bob Davis has a Sturgis Photo and Gifts, very successful. So pretty proud of our people.
Awesome. And how much money was raised? Over $100,000.
Yes, I'm trying to think that the goal, like I thought, was about $150,000. They did somewhat over that. And there is an article that the Queen City Mail put out at that time, and I know a friend of mine, Pam Thomas's mother, did took a wood and copied it over, and it's here somewhere, so hopefully we can find that and put it out for people to see. Kind of one of the ideas too was that if there were certain donations and if they set them out, then we would put up a kiosk and put a story of their family, you know, which they were to bring to us. And they got quite a few of those done. I think Doris Shipley was really instrumental from Spearfish. And there still perhaps are more out there that we may be able to dig out sometime and come back and become interested and maybe present their stories of their pioneering families.
Did KBHB feel, you know, the connection with Gardners and with the founders, with Harry Blair, did they feel the connection with trying to preserve, you know, the heritage of this area?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the various industries that were involved, agriculture, timbering, mining, farming, livestock, and also the area that was so closely together that we could kind of put something together with the five-state area. And the friendship, you know, that they kind of could see things that were disappearing as far as history is concerned, and they for sure wanted to keep those things alive.
How important is that, do you think? I mean, what are those important things people can learn when they come here?
Well, I think basically, hopefully with the long-term families that have been here, you can kind of see what worked and what didn't work, and then when you go into your own business and try to put something together, perhaps maybe we have to fix something up. We may have to put off buying a new tractor, you know, if things are not too good right now. And those are things they learned, you know, through like the Dust Bowl and many of those things that happened back then where they had to overcome those projects, those big happenings.
What kind of a person did it take to be a pioneer?
A brave person, you know, adventurous person, someone who was interested, I think, in prolonging the family's activities, and a very hardy person. I'm pretty sure that, you know, your health had to be in pretty good shape for you to take off, but I'm sure some weren't. And well, then we have our pioneering doctors and all those people too that come about later. Yeah, it was a great project.
What do you think of, when people leave here, what do you hope they take with them?
I hope they take with them the enterprising spirit of the people, the productivity, the hardworking Christian attitudes of our people, God-fearing, wanting to raise their families to be productive, go on with society. Those are basically the things I think I would, and a love of the land, a love of the area.
This area was unique in a lot of ways because it brought cultures in from all over the world. Mining, those people came from all over the world.
Absolutely.
And you had the Native Americans that were here, and you had the pioneers that were here.
We had the Chinese that came in to do so much of it. Yes, many different groups of people that came with us.
Yeah, so it was kind of a unique area, wasn't it? This is a very unique.
It was. My father came with the irrigation system. As the Ormond Dam was completed, then they came in and did a complete project of drainage ditches. They came in, so he came in with the construction company that put that drainage system into operation. So, and he loved it so much he stayed, And there are a lot of them like that, I think.
Sure. When the idea came about for the project, was it heartwarming to you to see a community or communities come together to raise the funds to make this happen? I mean, if somebody is sitting out here, they come on a bus tour from West Virginia, wherever, Pennsylvania, and they can hear the story and think, that's a really neat story.
Mm-hmm. It does, and hopefully they'll go back home and perhaps participate in some of the things that are happening back there, And of course, we'd welcome them to come stay too if they want to, Yeah, that our biggest problem now, I think, is lack of workers in our various industries. So, we still need more people.
But just to, maybe encapsulate for me, if you could summarize the spirit of people coming together to make this place a reality. It
is, like you say, heartwarming, and I think the idea is that they want to preserve their part in history. They want it to be there for their future generations, and hopefully continue to participate to help it grow, to make it prosper. I think that basically pretty well summarized what I would hope for the area. I know my own family, they're in different locations now. One's still in South Dakota. One has been just recently moved out of state. But they too are so interested in what's happening back home. You can have long conversations. I have long conversations with them on the telephone, via the internet, on the happenings back home, and I guess that's the spirit I want to see continue with them.
Sure. And why is it important for us to know our history? Why is it important?
Why is it important? That is really a thought-provoking question. Why is it important? I guess for your own sense of your position here on Earth, and what your role is. What our people went through in order to provide how things are for us today, the improvements that have been made. And it kind of gives you a sense of cohesiveness within yourself and in the individual. So it's something like what dreams are made of, I guess, that you like to cling to.
Are there certain things at the museum that are special to you when you see them here?
Especially like the sheep part, because coming from farm background, agriculture background, and also being raised with the animals, and I love that particular part of it. It's always such a heartwarming thing to remember the bum lambs, and our position working with them and all of those. So yeah, I like that. Like the Pioneer Kitchen, I guess there's not much that I don't like, so it's hard to pinpoint, but yeah, it's a wonderful project.
Do you think it's useful for people to, because this is such an up close center. I mean, you can touch things and
Mm-hmm,
you can walk up to history, you can pick it up, you can pet the buffalo, whatever, you can look at the stagecoach. I mean, I think that's important for people.
I do too, yes. Hands-on, and especially with our younger generation, our young people, you know, I think that's how they learn and how they remember.
Maybe you could put this into your own words, but to me, it's cool to think that if you're holding this or looking at that baby cradle made out of a whiskey barrel, and to imagine there was actually a baby in there one time.
Right, all right. And one of our main announcers that came out, one of our first announcers back in 1963, I think it was expecting a baby. And so, I mean, things were rolling along very quickly, so we found a little wooden doll cradle for this baby. Well, then, and you look at this one that was there with the whiskey barrel, you know, it's kind of easy to relate and think, you know, yeah, those were pretty innovative things at that time.
Yeah, just to think who rode on that saddle or who
Right,
wore
right.
those spurs. I mean, those were actually working. I mean, people did.
Yeah, and how afraid were they when they were coming out in those stagecoaches, you know? And
Oh, yeah, no
yeah,
kidding.
and following behind that hearse, you know.
Yep, trailing the cattle.
Right,
You never
right.
know. Well, I'll go back just for a minute on the radiothon. After it was all over, did you take a moment and go, man, I can't believe we just did that?
It was probably the hugest we had ever undertaken. Besides when we came out to build, you know, the radio stations, KBHB and KRCS. But yes, it was a pretty amazing goal at that time, in the late 70s, you know. And money was not all that available. You compare prices from the 70s to today, I don't know how much they've inflated, but over double, or maybe triple even. So yes, it would be like raising maybe close to $1 million today, you know, but just from individual contributions, just from $5 on up, you know, to the big ones.
What does that say about us?
It says they're very generous, heartwarming, and I think they want to see things happen, and they really are interested in preserving, in this particular case, preserving the history of the area. It was a good project. Those men had a great thought in mind when they put this together.
All right. Well, anything else that you would like to add about the High Plains Center?
No, I just want to say thanks personally to the volunteers. You know, and I've been volunteering 205. I finished my Senate term in 205, which I replaced my husband Les, who had died while in office, and then started to volunteer. It's been a wonderful experience, and they have met many wonderful people here who are so dedicated, and I think that I would like to see that continue, that spirit continue, and to keep those volunteers coming.
Well, if these walls could talk, what would they say?
Oh, I'm not sure. That would be interesting.
Thank you, Marguerite.
Be scary. Yeah, you're welcome.